Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Professional Bookworms, the worst titled YouTube channel on the planet as of right now. Today, I'm going to be ranking every book in one of my favorite series of all time, which is the Cosmere. The Cosmere, if I ranked it as a whole, the entirety of it, every single book and novella and short story, it would be my third or fourth favorite series of all time. But if I just took Stormlight, it is my second favorite series of all time, and I do not think that will change very soon. It might, but for now, I think Stormlight is my second favorite, even with recent controversy surrounding a couple of the recent releases. As you can see, I've already put some of the stuff in detail because honestly, uh, I don't have enough to talk about them with, but they were pretty back with the templates. Uh, let's get right into what I actually want to talk about with this tier list. So let's start off with the first book in the way that's well, section. The first book in the Mistborn series, which is where I started with the Cosmere, the Final Empire. And no, I will not call it Mistborn because it's the Final Empire, and it always will be. And the Final Empire is always a really good place to start with the Cosmere. I recommend the Way of Kings more to a lot of people just because, well, a lot of people are more familiar with epic fantasy, so why not just start with its best stuff? Uh, and I really love Mistborn. On my first read through, there's stuff about it that I have kind of gone down on as of late, but it is still a great book, as you can tell by me putting it in A tier. I just think it is really well paced. It's really well written. A lot of the characters are compelling. They're not like the best written characters in all of fantasy, but they are at the least interesting. Like specifically, Kelsey or Sazed and Vin are like the best characters in this original trilogy, at least in this book as of right now. I think they get better as the series goes on, and that's why this is my least favorite Miss Bond book. My least favorite Era One book. That is. A lot of the other stuff in this book is just in comparison to a lot of the other books in the Cosmere, it's just less for me. So that's why it's going in A tier. And from there we can get into what's definitely my favorite Miss Bond book, and that is the Well of Ascension. And it's a bit of a hot take to say this is my favorite Miss Bond book, as I've learned recently, really it can be either this or Hero of Ages. I love both. It is just that I think so I have a scale, and I'll just go ahead and put the Hero of Ages right here because that basically already said it. And I have a scale by which I rank these. I mean, not really a scale, but like my logic is like I really like Miss Warren's beginning, middle, and ending. They are all like middle of the pack. Well, of Ascension, I think, has the best beginning and middle and the weakest ending. And in Mistborn, the endings are all really great. So even with uh, Well of Ascension, even though it has the weakest ending, it is still phenomenal in my opinion. It is like mind blowing. I love the ending a lot. And Hero of Ages, I think, has the weakest beginning, the second, like a pretty good middle, and the best ending by far. I think in that respect, Well of Ascension is just like the most consistent because every single part of it is phenomenal, whereas the other ones there's like good parts and then phenomenal parts. Whereas Wealth of Ascension, I think, is just great the whole time because I think a lot of people find this boring for whatever reason, and there's a pseudo love triangle which I don't really care for, but I know most people don't, and I actually do like the character that kicks that off a lot. And I won't spoil who it is, but I think the way he ends really recontextualized how I thought about that character, and I liked him more. I like him a lot more in retrospect. Along with that, there's a lot more politicking in this book, and I know that's not what a lot of people like, but I really loved reading all of that in this book. And yeah, that's why Well of Ascension is my favorite Miss Bond book. And really, it could be Hero of Ages just because of the amount of emotional impact that Hero of Ages had. And on a good day, Hero of Ages can overtake it. But today, this Well of Ascension really, it just kind of changes every 5 seconds. From there, we'll get into a couple of standalones, and I think Warbreaker is a very solid B tier. I love this book. I did it for free from the PDF on Sanderson's website. It was a great book. I think the ending was a little disappointing, but the rest of it was really great. I love Light Song. I love Siri. I love Vivina. Uh, this is like I think where he got a bit better with the side characters, and every single POV is great except maybe Vivina. But it's been a while since I've read this book, so pardon me if I forgot a lot about it. But uh, yeah, I just really like the story of Warbreaker, and the world is great. The magic system is great. It's Warbreaker. Elantris, lower B tier. It's all right. I think it's a solid. It's a very three-star book because the actual concept of Elantris is amazing. I If I had to say something, I would love to see how Sanderson would handle Elantris as he is as a writer now, because I think the concept of Elantris is phenomenal. I just don't think that most of the characters within Elantris are that good. Like Rayoden is an okay character, Serini is okay again. Rayton is maybe the only interesting main character in the whole book, but even then, he's less interesting than a lot of other uh, Cosmere main characters, even though he is probably the most interesting in this book alone. Uh, but I really do like Elantris. It's very enjoyable. It has a great ending. It's I like a lot of the build up. It kind of feels like a prototype Way of Kings, which is funny because there are like 500 prototype Way of Kings. That's like what Dragonsteel Prime is. That's what Way of Kings Prime is. But Elantris is it's fun. It's a fun book, but it's definitely like towards the bottom half of the Cosmere, in my opinion. Uh, and speaking of the bottom half, Cosmere, let's just get right into what the top half is, and which is Stormlight. And we're going to start with just my favorite book in the entire Cosmere. This is not going to change for now. I don't think it'll change until maybe Stormlight 6 comes out. That has a chance of beating it out. I'm really excited to see what he does with the second arc. But for now, Way of Kings is my favorite Cosmere book, and it has been ever since I've read it. It is just one of my favorite books of all time. I think everything about this book is perfect. First of all, immediately, uh, a lot of books I like less on reread. This book I loved even more on reread because you pick up on a lot of stuff that you missed on the first time because of the foreshadowing that is laid within the book. And that's not all really. The world building of the book is great. Kaladin is one of my favorite characters of all time, probably my second favorite character of all time. Dalinar is also phenomenal in this book. He just gets better as the series goes on, in my opinion, except maybe with a war. A lot of people don't like Shallan's plotline in this book. I love Shallan's plotline in this book. It's just like I love it less than Kaladin and Dalinar's, which is saying a lot because I really love Kaladin and Dalinar's plotlines in this book. I just think it's perfect from beginning to end. And I can't really find that many flaws with this book. Most people would cite Shallan as a flaw. I can't because I just think it's perfect. Uh, in a lot of ways, what else? I mean, I just love the introduction that you get to this world. The scene at the end of part one, I won't say what it is, but the scene at the end of part one is Kaladin. It deals with Kaladin, and it's what really got me into the book. I was really enjoying the book before that, but that was when I was completely locked in. On my first read, I didn't really like the interlude. On my first read, I didn't really like the interludes. On a reread, the interludes are phenomenal. I'm gonna say that much. I think the interludes just get better as the series goes on. I think I like Wind and Truths. It should I shouldn't say that. But yeah, this book is amazing. It's probably like it also has like my favorite cover art of all time. Michael Whalen is a legend. Uh, and I think the flashbacks in this book are like I have flashbacks are a big part of what makes up Stormlight. Uh, and Way of Kings has some of the best of them. It's like it's less tragic and it's less immediately compelling than a lot of the other ones, but the way that he writes it and Kaladin himself is just such an interesting character that the way that his thoughts function, the way that he thinks of the world makes his flashbacks all the more gripping, and that is why I think they are the best. Because I think we'll get to Words of Radiance soon, very soon. But I think Shallan might have a sadder past, but it's less emotionally compelling for me. Even though it's still very emotionally compelling, I love Shallan's backstory. But with Kaladin, I'm attached to his family. I'm Lyr and Hesenati and all of them. And Shalan, I don't care as much about her family and everything that's going on with them. I do still care again because I kind of have to. I would be a bad person if I didn't. But I just like Kaladin's the setting of Kaladin's story a lot more. I love um, Kaladin as a character more than Shalan, obviously. And I still love Shallan as a character again. Uh, but everything about Way of Kings is just like intensely compelling. I don't think there's a single scene, and there's a lot of people who say that there's a lot of bloat in this book. I can't think of a single scene I would want cut out. So it's slow for a lot of people. I love that build up, and the ending again is phenomenal, as you have probably seen me say with a lot of these books so far. So yeah, Way of Kings. It's one of my favorite books of all time. It's up there with like the top of my of my favorite Wheel of Time books. In my personal opinion, I just love the emotional impact of this. I love Kaladin. I love Bridge Four. I love Dalinar. I'm going to stop rambling about this. So yeah. Now I have a bit of a hot take. But we'll get to that once I'm done with the Stormlight ranking. And I love Words of Radiance. Again, it is still an S tier for me. It's a spoiler warning, but every Stormlight book is going to be an S tier. I think I am one of the rare people who loves every Stormlight book, but we'll get to that. Words of Radiance, I love. I don't like it as much as Way of Kings because I don't really like anything as much as Way of Kings. But I think so much about this book is great. First of all, I love Shallan in book one. A lot of people didn't, and this is where a lot of people start loving Shallan. And yeah, Shallan, this is probably the best book for Shallan. I think, well, I'll talk about that later. But Shallan in this book is great. Again, I've spoken about her, how I like her backstory less than Kaladin's, because I just think Kaladin's like internal monologue and character is more intensely interesting than Shallan, even though as you go through, and part of that is because as you go more and more deeper and deeper into Shallan's character, the more interesting she becomes. And it really that her flashbacks are amplified on Read It because you know a lot more about her psyche, I think. And because of that, I found her flashbacks really well written. Thing about Words of Radiance is that every single character interaction in that book is written really well. You love seeing it build up, and I think that's a strength of Way of Kings too. But in one specific plot line, the other ones, it is a strength, but it's not as big of a strength as in that one specific plot line. Whereas in Words of Radiance, in every single plot line, you love seeing these characters interact with each other. And seeing it build up more and more, and Words of Radiance has some of the best action scenes in the entirety of the Cosmere. They are great. It has some of the most emotional moments. Kaladin's journey in this book is phenomenal. We don't get as much Dalinar, but what we do have with him is great. It has some of my favorite scenes in all of Stormlight. The more I think about this book, the more I love it. It is, well, I'll get to that later. And yeah, I just love Words of Radiance so much. Again, it takes what we had with Way of Kings. Way of Kings leaves off on a big world building cliffhanger. I think Way of Kings itself, no, world building cliffhanger because it's just like there's this big reveal. What are the implications for that? And Words of Radiance does a really, really good job on building upon that. And again, I thought the interludes were kind of annoying on my first time through it. No, not anymore. Not really. Uh, because on Reread, I just loved those interludes a lot more because of what they do for the world, what they do for the grander scope of the story. Now that I have the context of what happens in the later books, I love them even more. So yeah, Words of Radiance is up there, and then we get into no wait, I think we should I go into Oathbringer or Edge Dancer first? I'll go into Edge Dancer. It goes into B tier. I do really like Edge Dancer actually. I just don't think it's the best. I don't think it's the best. I do like Edge Dancer. I don't remember a lot about it, like my experience with it, but I had fun with it. I think I like Lift a lot more than other people. I don't really, really, really like Lift. I like Lift. I don't. But I like Lift a lot more with each book, and now I'm very excited to see where she goes with Stormlight Six because if I'm not wrong, Stormlight Six is supposed to be like her book, her flashback book, and this book did a really great job on building up on all of that, and I can't wait to see her future. It has a pretty good ending. The middle part is fun. Yeah, I like Edge Dancer. It does a lot for the world building of Stormlight. The novellas in particular, and I'll talk about both of them. Dawnshard goes just a little bit above Edge Dancer. Both of them have an extended focus on this one specific aspect of the world that get hints at in the main novels, but are really a big focus within these novellas. Uh, and they have different characters. Obviously, I love Donchar too because I think, of course, it has the Lopin as a main character, and the Lopin is the best. So what can I say? They are really good books. They're not the best, but they don't quite reach the height of the novels, but they don't exactly reach the length of it either. So there we go. Then we move into Oathbringer. Oathbringer goes above Words of Radiance for me. And this is like, for a lot of people, this is where Stormlight is at its peak. The first three books, I do not agree personally because I will get into that. But I really love Oathbringer. Actually, funny story. On my first read through, I would have put Oathbringer in 8 year because while I did like it, it was my least favorite Stormlight book. Now it's my second favorite. Uh, Oathbringer is just a phenomenal book. And because a lot of the stuff that didn't hit for me as well on the first read through just got me on the second one. Not because it was a reread, because I don't think I was reading it properly on my first read through. If I'm going to be completely honest. Uh, but Oldbringer, of course, this is Dalinar's book, and Dalinar for a lot of people are some people's like favorite flashbacks. I can definitely see that. I think he's my second. I think he's either my first or my second. Again, we fluctuate a little bit, and his flashbacks are phenomenal. They Dalinar is a character who has been built up with a lot of mystery throughout all three books, all both books leading up to this, specifically in his own plot lines. And now, when you finally get to see it crash down, you're just like, shit. And like, more and more is revealed to you. It's phenomenal, and you love seeing everything that happens, and you don't love it because it's painful. But that's the point. You'll see what that means. But again, one part that I didn't really like on my first read through was the middle section of the book. Whereas on my reread, I think the middle section did a lot of great things for the characters because it really expanded on their character arcs. And the middle section actually, I found made my reading experience of Wind and Shoot even higher because there was a lot of stuff in this that kind of uh, that's a bit of a I won't get into it that too much because feel like it's a bit of a spoiler, but it really amplified a lot of the other books. It was just a lot better on reading because I thought it kind of dragged originally, but now that I actually look at it with a more micro lens, looking at the characters and everything, I just loved it a lot more. And I love seeing their psyches at this point of time. I won't say how it is, but again, Kaladin's book is really great. I think this is my least favorite book for Kaladin, but I love Kaladin in all of the books. So, uh, yeah, there we go. Woodbringer is a great book, and I think it's a lot of people's favorite, and it's a lot of people's least favorite. Surprisingly, it was mine at first too. So I can definitely see both sides of the spectrum because I have been both sides of the spectrum. But Oldbringer is a phenomenal book. The flashbacks are amazing. The ending is amazing. The political stuff at the beginning of the book is great, and it just sets itself throughout the entire narrative. Character work in this book is phenomenal. Yeah, there we go. Oathbringer is great, and there, uh, I'm gonna go on a bit of a rant. Rhythm of War. I really love Rhythm of War. It's just a great book. Yeah, it's that it is above Words of Radiance for me. Just because I'm gonna say it now. Words of Radiance is my least favorite Stormlight book. As you can see, it is still an S tier because it's a Stormlight book. But that's just because it had the least emotional impact for me. I think Rhythm of War, I genuinely is a book that I genuinely just don't get the hate for because I think it's a great book. Either way, there's one complaint I have about it, and that's which something with Shalan. I think something about her plotline was a bit too rushed in this book. But outside of that, I think it is a phenomenal book. Some people don't like that it delves a bit more into the magic system. I don't think it really goes all too deep because And while that plot line is there and that deals a lot with magic system stuff, it also goes it also builds this new character relationship between two characters that we have seen before. Like, we've seen one of the characters before, and it really goes deeper into them, making them one of my favorite characters in this entire series. Uh, and because of that, Rhythm of War is one of my favorites because it made me love this character all the more. Kaladin in this book is phenomenal. This is my second favorite book for Kaladin. I love him in this book. Uh, Outside of that, he is Kaladin in this book is great. Adolin in this book is great. Shallan, I have problems. I've already said that much. Uh, There's not as much Dalinar. I think another part of this book that's more controversial is the are the Bendy flashbacks. I do actually like the Bendy flashbacks a lot more on reread, but they are quite easily my least favorite flashbacks in the whole series, and I do not think they will be dethroned for that, because all of the other flashbacks, I think we have Lift, Taln, Shalash, Yasna, and Renarin. And not in that order. I think in order it's Lift, Renarin, Taln, Shalash, Taln, Yasna. So uh, those characters just seem I'm much more interested in them, especially after Wind and Truth. To I'm much more interested in them than whatever was happening in Bentley's because I think Sanderson himself said a lot about what kind of fell flat with Bentley's flashbacks. And while I did enjoy them, they are definitely flawed because all of the other flashbacks, there's a mystery aspect, like how did they get here? But with Bentley, you've already seen a lot of that. Uh, and the other flashbacks reveal something about the world, whereas a lot of the stuff that was supposed to be a mystery in this book was already revealed in Words of Radiance. He revealed Sanderson has said that that is one thing that he changed. So I think that did take away from the flashbacks by quite a bit. I do still really enjoy the flashbacks. I'll say that much. Uh, but they're not my favorite. But outside of that, I think everything about this book is phenomenal. Kaladin's emotional journey in this book is just so moving, and in some ways it is just kind of heart-wrenching. And there's one scene in this book that stands out to everyone because everyone loves it, and rightfully so. It is phenomenal. um so yeah, that's where I'm on Rhythm of War. I think it's overhated because, like, we'll get right into it. Wind and Truth. Number three, Wind and Truth is a book that I personally absolutely love, but I see everyone else's problems with it. I think it's phenomenal. There's so much I love about it, but it is the Stormlight book I have the most problems with. But as Rhythm of War, I have one problem with it, and I think everything else is great. And I don't see where I don't I don't see where people are coming from when they say they hate it. So uh, I think Rhythm of War is just r- great, and Win and Shoot has a lot of problems. So I'll talk about the problems with Win and Shoot because I feel like I've exaggerated a lot of my thoughts about it before, because I do think it has problems. First of all, the writing style in this book is interesting, to say the least. It's not as good as the other books, at least at the beginning. My personal opinion on it is in the first 2 days, because this book is in the first two parts of of the book. It is not nearly up to standard. I think the actual story and plot of everything that is happening in those first 2 days is phenomenal, except for a couple scenes that feel out of character for some of the characters, especially Kaladin. Uh, and I think for the rest of the book, Kaladin is a phenomenal. Um, and because of that, Kaladin is this is my fourth favorite book for Kaladin. My fourth favorite. It's second to last, just because of those first 2 days. Outside of that, I think it would be maybe my third favorite book, except because I'll get into a lot of that later. But uh, that writing style was a problem. There were also this was like the first time there were like a couple plot lines that I just straight up didn't like. I won't say whose because they are spoilers, but I didn't really like those plot lines. But they were more minor. They didn't get nearly as much screen time as the other ones, so it didn't bother me as much as it could have. Uh, it didn't bother me as much as it could have. But in the meantime, I'll there's other stuff that I didn't like about this book. I think a lot of the mental health stuff was a bit too on the nose. I did like it a lot more than other people, but there were some points where it just kind of explained itself too much. But outside of that, I really love this book. First of all, there's a lot of points that just make. I feel like a lot of this book was making us was trying to make us excited about the second arc of the series, and it really succeeded at that for me because it expands a lot on the characters who are going to be main characters in that second arc. It expands a lot on it sets up what the main focus of the second arc is going to be. So what I was saying is the ending of Winter Truth is phenomenal at setting up a lot of this stuff because uh, first of all, it is just a phenomenal ending. It wraps up a lot of character arcs beautifully. I love where almost every character ends up, and if it is not a satisfying end to them, it is a very exciting place to leave off. And I'm kind of sad by the fact that we have to wait 8 years for the next one. But Sanderson writes fast, so I'm pretty sure he can keep us occupied and all that time. And my TBR is gigantic. And well, there's a lot of other stuff because while I do agree that with a lot of the writing style complaints about this book, I don't in a lot of other ways because I think it's been exaggerated a lot because I think it gets bad at points in the first 2 days especially because it just fluctuates. There's a scene with good writing. In those first 2 days, you have scenes that with good writing, scenes with bad writing, scenes, and I think the dialogue suffers more in those first 2 days than the prose really. Uh, and after that, I just think it's an upward slope to the point where the final 3 days, the final act of the book, which is again fantastic, uh, it's just much better. And the way that it builds up each and every single act, there's an ominous sense that just like kind of finds its way throughout the entire book. And I love the atmosphere that this book built up so much. Some people thought the character work was less in this book. I really liked a lot of the character book work in this book. uh and yeah, it took a lot of characters that I liked a bit less than the main characters and elevated them to main character status, especially the flashback character of this book. The flashbacks in this book are phenomenal. I just love so much about this book. It has its problems. There are plot lines I don't like. In the end, I love it. I'm done defending it. But yeah, it's just a great book in my opinion. It has problems again, but it's a great book. And then from there, I think we should start ranking there are two, and the Alloy of Flaw goes into C tier. This is for a number of reasons. I think the Alloy of Flaw is a good book. It's fun. I love Wax. I love Wayne. I love Madison. I love seeing the way that the world has changed after Era One of Miss Morn. I just there's so much about this book that I do love, but it's really short. It doesn't have that much of an emotional impact. It is a pretty good book. It's just not like spectacular or anything. Because of that, I don't really have much to say about it. I just think the series gets better as it goes on. Speaking of which, Shadows of Self is probably like one of the biggest jump ups in quality he has ever had because I think Shadows of Self is quite easily the best Era 2 book. I just think it's really well written. It's one of his faster paced books and it actually kind of works with for this one because there's a constant sense of momentum that throughout the whole book and the final the final act of this book is heartbreaking and I love what it does for the character so much because I think people call Wax boring. I don't see that in my opinion. He might be for some people he's a bit of a Calvin ripoff, sure, but still think he's a really great character, and this is where this really sets up his peak in my opinion. I love Wax in this book. I love all the characters in this book. Uh, the plot twist, the connection to Era One, the mystery. It is all written so well. I really love Shadows of Self. So because of that, it is going 8 year. As if you can't tell, I have a lot less to say about these books. That's because they're shorter. And well, yeah. If I had to say anything else about Shadows of Self, forgot what I was going to say. Book good. Yeah. After that, we have the Bands of Mourning, which again goes right into 8 year. I really enjoy this book. It takes one of the characters who I was more or less lukewarm on in the first two books and makes her just one of my favorite characters in the entire Cosmere. She is a fan favorite for a reason. and I did not understand it until this book, in which she just became one of my favorites. And I think she's a really well written character, and along with that, it builds off what Wax's character arc was left off at in Shadows of Self in a really natural way. And that aspect of the book I really like. I like what it does with Wayne too. I like what it does with a lot of the other side characters. My problem with the book, I just the plot is all right. Uh, I like what it does for the world of Era Two, and outside of that, uh, outside of that, well, Wayne is also really great in this book. He has had a guide route throughout the whole era, and the ending part of this book is just great. So I think from there we can move on to Secret History, which is about put it above Elantris and below Warbreaker. Secret History delves into a character is the main character of Secret History is a character from the first era, but you should only read it after the third uh, era 2 book because it has spoilers for that. And first of all, this is basically an essential if you want to know everything about the Cosmere. If you don't, you don't need to. I think it's still a really good book. But if you want to know everything about the Cosmere, you just kind of have to read this because it contains a lot of lore. A lot of books are connected to this. It explains a lot of stuff that you won't get anywhere else. Um, it works really well, and it also sets up one of the biggest interconnections between the Mistborn and Stormlight worlds, which is great. Alongside that, the main character is just a character who I love. He's probably the best Mistborn character, like from an objective level, and because of that, it's fun to see more from him. His perspective, he's just more interesting than most of the other Mistborn characters, and because of that, I really like it. Uh, I love what it does for the world building of the Cosmere because it also sets up a lot of the teams that move on into even Stormlight somehow. Because Stormlight 5 kind of mirrors a lot of stuff that happens in this book in various ways, and that made me appreciate this book even more. I'm gearing for a reread. I want to do it sometime this year because of Stormlight 5 and everything. And yeah, it's a really great little novel. I think a lot of people say that it drags in the middle. I don't really see that, but I don't really have that. But I can kind of see the vision. But yes, I think Secret History is a pretty good book, and The Lost Metal is going right below Warbreaker again. I think this is a good book. I think this book has two main things going on. There is one plotline that is heavily Cosmere connected, heavily, and there is one plotline um, that is just the era 2 plotline, and they are very interconnected. The whole book as a whole, based on its very premise, is very Cosmere connected. Again, I wouldn't say it's necessary to read a lot of Cosmere books, but it would definitely elevate the experience a little. But I must say, I liked the General Era 2 plotline a lot more than the very Cosmic Connected plotline. I did enjoy it, but a lot of the time I felt like it was taking away from the other plotline. And I just wanted to see more of that because that is the emotional core of the book in the end. So that is one point of disappointment. I feel like it was really fast paced, and because of that, I wasn't able to connect. There is one scene towards the end that is just absolutely breathtaking in how it's written and the action of it, and I can visualize it so clearly in my head. It is phenomenal, and because of that, I do really love this book. The emotional gut punch that it delivers at the end is amazing. It has like 7 epilogues, which surprised me on my first time through, and it sets up a lot of stuff for future Cosmere. Uh, and I don't think that I don't like the Cosmere connections in this book a lot. That's the only point. This is probably the only point in my entire Cosmere read through where Cosmere connections have bothered me because I love it when there's a lot of Cosmere connections in the book. Rhythm of War, When in Truth, Tress Yumi, Sunlit Man all have it, and I like the Cosmic Connections a lot in those books. I think this one I specifically don't like it just because I think the plot line that it centers around is a lot weaker, and it picks up off a story, and one aspect of it picks up on a story that I love, and it's a standalone in the Cosmere, and I feel would have functioned better if it had just never continued, if we had just not known what happened in the future. So that's what I'll say about that. I think from there we should get into the white sand. I'll talk about white sand really quickly. White sand is so nothing. It is okay. I hate it, but I hate it just because of how like nothing it is. I have no strong emotions about this story whatsoever. I like the art. It's so nothing. I don't know how he's going to turn it into a prose format and make it still good. It's gonna be a hard task. I like seeing Chris because she's a very important character for the Cosmere, but outside of that, there's not really much that I like. I like the magic system. That's about it. So from there, I think I'll get into the secret projects. Stress with the Emerald Sea. This book is so fun. It is just a really fun romp throughout the whole thing. Chess, like I don't think character building in this is very strong, but Chess specifically and Huck and Charlie, Chess and Huck and Charlie are like pretty well written, and not Charlie really, not Charlie. Uh, and it has a really hateable character that I mean, if you don't hate, I don't know, but I think it kind of changes her as the story goes on. Uh, the world of dress is just so fun to be in. The very concept of it is just wild, and it works so well for a story. Sanderson said that he wanted to make his prose more lyrical because it's Hoy telling it, and he wanted to make He wanted to practice Hoy's voice for eventually when he writes Dragonsteel, which, by the way, I'm very excited for Dragonsteel. Um, I'm very excited for Dragonsteel. Uh, Whenever that comes out, and he really succeeded because I think the writing style in this is like what a lot more people would enjoy rather than Sanderson's transparent prose. The people who specifically complain about that kind of stuff, I do love this. After that, well, and there's a lot of heartwarming moments. It's a nautical fantasy. I do like nautical fantasy because I love One Piece. Uh, I read this on my laptop. I read this the day I moved into this house. Actually, I love this book. It's so fun. So yeah, it's A tier. Maybe it goes below one of his Ancient and Hero pages, but I just love it so much. And from there, should I go into the novellas, or I think I'll end off with the novellas because all right, Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. I love this book so much because I think it's Jesus Christ. They're just even. All right. Yumi and the Nightmare Painter is so good. Uh, First of all, I love the two main characters so much. They are so well written. I love their journeys throughout the book, their character arcs as they interact more and more. I love all of their interactions. Uh, I love every moment that they spend together. This is almost cozy for me. It's like it was just felt cozy to be in this world, and it makes me want to check out cozy fantasy eventually. Uh, it was just so fun. It was just so fun. Being in this world, if I had to choose one Cosmere world to live in, I would live on Komashi because I, Painter side is the most. It's not a spoiler to say that this is like the farthest along we have seen Cosmere technology thus far, outside of Six of the Dusk. I'm pretty sure, uh, because Yumi and an Anime Painter is basically just Earth, but more fun because it's blue and pink. So I usually don't like romance a lot. This is a romance, and it's a really well written one, in my opinion. It was just really fun to see both of the main characters interact a lot more. I, I, I just love it when Sanderson tackles like his own art, and he does that really, really well in this book. I love. He basically created the main. Wait, how do I say this? He tackles one of the biggest issues in the art world today before it even became popular. And he does it in a way that like it almost works too well. Like that comparison almost works too well. Read the book, you'll know what I'm talking about. And the comparison almost works too well. It's like he was prescient. Uh, like maybe I'll talk about it in a spoiler section someday. But that part is phenomenal. I love the emotional piece of this book. The ending of this book is somewhat controversial because it could have gone two ways. I think the way that it ended and I would have liked it either way, personally. I think the way that it did end worked a lot, really well, just because of how the character arc of the specific character was going. So because of that, I like it. I also would have liked it if had gone the other way and been a bit more. That's how far can I go without spoiling it? I would have liked it if it had gone the other way because it would have contributed a bit more to the emotional factor. But all in all, I love this book, and there is no universe in which I don't. And it is just S tier rather than a lot of them, just because of I can see it going into A tier. But for now, it is an S tier Cosmere book. I love it a bit, which is very surprising because it's a romance, and I don't usually like that stuff. So from there. Probably my hottest take of today. Sunday Man is a D tier book. Now I'll put it above all these, but I don't like this book. It's I talk about how White Sand is nothing. This book is not nothing. I just don't really care about anything going on in it. I found it really hard to attach myself to any character, any plot line. I couldn't care about any plot line. I like the world, and I like this is a very Cosmere heavy book. Do not read it before you are caught up to Stormlight 4. I'd say maybe even Stormlight 5. Um, because it did come out after Stormlight 4 and before 5. But I'd argue that maybe reading it after 5 is a better choice. I don't like this book. The character work wasn't very good. The main character, I've just never really liked him that much wherever he's been in the Cosmere. The Cosmere connections were fun to see, the world building was fun, but ultimately they can't really carry the book all on their own, and they were already shouldering a lot of the weight. This is like his most schlocky book, in my opinion, and I really don't like it. There's no really real redeeming qualities. There's one kind of emotional moment, but even that, like, the farther I get away from it, the more I'm on it. There's one character I like, kind of, but I like other characters more than him. He's like even my least favorite character in Stormlight. I like more than that character. So they're my favorite character in this book. So you win some, you lose some. I like even in something like Elantris, my least favorite character. I would say I'd say even that character working in Elantris was better than Southern Man because I just really don't care about Southern Man. I feel like I've already forgotten everything that happened in this book. I paid attention, I promise, but it is just so forgettable to me. But then we'll get into the final three novellas here. Shadows for Silence in the Forest of Hell is a really solid B tier. It goes a bit darker than most of Sanderson's books. Uh, I think it's just move it up to A tier maybe we'll see. Actually no, I think B tier is good. We'll move it up. We'll move it down to B tier. Uh, I like the family dynamics in this book. I love the world of it. I'm really excited to see more of the world whenever he writes his eventual. I think it's called Night Brigade or Dusk Brigade, whatever. Because this world itself is just so captivating. I There's a big mystery force like driving it, and I want to see what that is. So because of that, I'm very interested in seeing what it ends up being. Wait, I'll move it down below. Okay. And it's just a really interesting book. I love the main character. I love the family dynamics. Uh, and I think everything about it is executed really well. There's one part that connects to chess in a really fun way, not directly, really, but it's just like a little world building detail that I liked. I did read chess after this, so when I read chess, I was like, "Oh, that's the thing from Shadows of for Silence," uh, and it's just like more of a larger Cosmere wide thing. So yeah, I really enjoy Shadows of Silence and the Force of Hell. It's a really good book. Then right above that is Sixth of the Dusk, which I would not recommend reading right now because Isles of the Emberdark is about to come out, and I've heard that Isles of the Emberdark is basically just going to incorporate Sixth of the Dusk into the main story, like as flashback chapters, which I think is a good move because it still works as a standalone. And I'm really excited for Isles of the Emberdark because I love the world setup in this story. I love what glimpses we have seen of the characters, and I love the themes that in it, and I just want to see a larger scope on that. This before the secret projects. This was the farthest we had seen into the Cosmere, and because of that, uh, It was really fun seeing where it went into the future, uh, the farthest, and how it had developed. And I think that part of it was handled really, really well. Uh, yeah, Six of Justice is a really great novel. The atmosphere that it builds is very effective, and the ending leaves off in a way that that's just very intriguing. So I cannot wait for Elves of Neighborhood. It's coming out this year. Yeah. Uh, Emperor's Soul. So this is the main reason I'm recording this now, because I just did a reread of Emperor's Soul. It's phenomenal. It is probably one of Sanderson's best. If it was longer, it would probably overtake Words of Radiance for me. If it was longer, and but because of that, uh, I just think, first of all, the writing of this story is really great. It's short, but what he is able to do with just those, like, barely 100 pages is amazing. There are some character arcs in this book that are just beautiful to watch. The final scene of this is just so moving. The like constant, like, it's like Sanderson, I think he said, like, he doesn't usually go right into a book with a specific theme in mind. It just, like, kind of naturally develops over time for him. I would not be surprised if this was the one of the only books in which he just went in with themes in mind that he wanted to tackle immediately, even before outlining the book, because that I can kind of see that shining too. I would not be surprised if he said that, because it's really tight in how it tackles them. It tackles them in a really interesting way, and I think Stormlight and this and Yumi are the best in utilizing the magic system to be able to service the story and the themes in the best possible way. Uh, I love the two main characters of the story. In my opinion, there are two main characters, even though one of them gets less time than the others. They are still just like the two main driving forces of the story. The final sequence of this book is phenomenal, uh, and I love how just cut it is. I would have liked it a bit longer, but still, even with how short it is, it being up here is impressive in and of itself, and that is my Cosmere tier list. I think that's everything that's come out thus far. This is one of my favorite series. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching Professional Bookworms, the worst titled booktube channel on the planet. We will catch you later.